What's up, everybody? Welcome to Normieville.
Well, we call you normies.
So in this particular production, I want to talk about Bomani Jones one more time. Now, in the last video I did about Bomani Jones, I did an article that was illustrating and referencing how his show, Game Theory, was not being renewed after 2 seasons. It did terrible. They front-loaded ahead of NBA games. It didn't make the top 150 syndicated television. It was just terrible, right? To the point where I think they said that he lost 80% of viewership because he got front-loaded with some other shows behind him. And when he came on, the viewership drastically dropped after he came on. Well, his show was not renewed. It went 2 seasons. It was laughable. It was pathetic. And it got canned from HBO. Well, toward the end of that article, it was mentioned that Bomani Jones, his contract extension was coming up this year, or I think at the end of the next month or two, and it's highly likely that he was not going to be kept at ESPN. He was going to be actually part of the layoffs. Well, that mention has now come to fruition. As you can see here from the New York Post, Bomani Jones won't have his ESPN contract renewed.
Target down!
Now, while I don't advocate for anyone to lose their job or to not have employment, because we all need to feed our families and ourselves, Bomani Jones needs to stick to something that's more his lane in a network or a show that he can thrive in. And sports just is not it. He needs to do something that's more SJW related, something that's more lifestyle or political. Blah. So let's get in this article and see what's the deal with Bomani Jones, hopefully for the last time in sports anyway. Let's read. The sports media bloodbath at ESPN apparently isn't over. Bomani Jones appears to be the latest big name. Well, I call cap on that.
Target acquired.
Bomani Jones appears to be the latest big name sports personality to leave the worldwide leader in woke. The network isn't planning on renewing Jones' contract when it expires at the end of the month, according to a report from Front Office Sports. The breakup comes weeks after HBO canceled Jones' Game Theory with Bomani Jones, which premiered in 2022, but struggled to gain viewership. Jones didn't confirm his departure, but did tell FOS that the company hasn't shown interest in extending his contract. Well, I would not either. You're just not entertaining, man. Maybe a podcast or something, because I mean, you have a face only mother could love. So maybe a podcast, something where you can, talk and, say whatever you want to about equality and all those kind of things that you like to talk about, that you like to try to weave into your sports commentary. So maybe that'll be something that you can thrive in. But sports, ESPN, especially HBO, which is a big name in, in TV, not so much. Quote, "The economic fate of people in sports media is getting dicier and dicey by the day," Jones told the outlet. "I think the ESPN layoffs were the beginning of it in a lot of ways. Seeing what happened with the New York Times shutting down their sports department, and they moved those people to other desks, but at some point they're probably going to deem those people to be surplus and they're not going to be there anymore." Jones joins a long list of well-known, now the other people are well-known, not Bomani though. Bomani's not well-known. Jones joins a long list of well-known sports media talents leaving ESPN over the last month. Again, there were a lot of big names that left the sports world. Jalen Rose, Steve Young, a lot of people. What was the other guy's name? Van Gundy. A lot of people ended up leaving. They were actually big names. But Bomani Jones was pretty much at the bottom of the totem pole, if you ask me. But he's still considered part of sports media to this point. And yeah, last month has been rough for ESPN, especially the parent company Disney. And well, Bomani, you lasted actually longer than you should have. And there's other people that should not be there, I think, like, Malika and other people. But we're not going to talk about that's been driven to the ground. Let's continue. In June, the company laid off roughly 20 on-air personalities, including such stars as Jeff Van Gundy, Max Kellerman, Keyshawn Johnson, Susie Klober, and Jalen Rose. Jones has been with the network for nearly 2 decades. That's 2 decades too long.
Ain't no way. Ain't no fucking way.
Joining ESPN as a writer in 2004. In 2010, Jones began appearing on Around the Horn and Outside the Lines. He would later co-host the now defunct Highly Questionable and High Noon. I never watched those shows. He currently hosts The Right Time with Bomani Jones, which originated as a radio show and is now one of ESPN's top performing podcasts. Now, again, like I said, podcasts, great. Live TV, we actually have to talk about this kind of stuff. Not so much. Podcasts have become the norm now. YouTube and other places, Rumble, they're flooded with them, Spotify, all that. So anybody that has a voice like myself can say what they want, which is a free country. I love that personally for myself. But Bomani Jones does not need to talk about sports anymore. Jones, 42, made a name for himself in the sports media world by being unafraid to talk about sports-related political and social issues. Yeah.
Yeah, bitch. Yeah, bitch.
That's the part that we don't like. Me personally, I'm an 80s baby. I like to hear sports. That's it. Now, if sports happen to somehow cross over into social or political lines and you have to talk about it, you have to mix it in, cool. But to be honest with you, a lot of the causes and some of the things like BLM and other things that have happened over the last, 8 to 10 years, a lot of stuff has was unnecessary in sports. It was placed in there either intentionally or not, and really has watered down people even wanting to watch sports, let alone hear people talk about it, especially people like Bomani Jones, which one of those people where everything has to be a race issue, everything has to be an equality issue. Is just, to me, it's stupid, and a lot of things are just unnecessary. Just my opinion. The Post, Andrew Martian previously reported that Jones was likely to depart ESPN in March 2022. Jones had been averaging more than $2 million per year on a previous deal before the company cut his salary to just north of $1 million per year per Martian. Well, again, like I said, hopefully this man will land on his feet. Maybe he can take his podcast to another platform or something like that. I'm sure I've seen him on CNN a couple of times, so I'm sure he can still be a contributor somewhere. Maybe just not just not at ESPN. But in any case, his time at HBO and now ESPN are done. We do not miss him, but I wish the best for him in his future endeavors. Thank you for attending another episode of Normieville. You know me, I'm just a normie here to bring you the latest and greatest in sports news, entertainment, and politics. Let me know what you think about this loser down in the comment section. And please hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and the notification bell on your way out of the door. And I will see you on the next video.